The latest COVID-19 figures for the UK show that 367 people have died within 28 days of testing positive for the virus, the highest figure for 5 months. It comes just a day after the news that immunity from the virus may only last for a few months after infection. Joining us now to discuss the figure is Bharat Pankhania, who is a senior lecturer at the University of Exeter. Thanks for joining us on the programme this morning. Your reaction to that news?
Well, it shows that what had been set into motion in early summer is now coming to give us a lot of pain, which is we expected the numbers to go up, and first the numbers started. This is the important bit. The numbers started to go up with the younger age group, and then slowly drifting from the younger age group to the older age group. And then it is the older age groups that end up being admitted to hospital and unfortunately also dying. So this was foreseeable. We could see it coming, and we are now seeing it.
Who is to blame? Is it younger people for going out and mingling, or is it the government for not acting appropriately?
Well, we have always said that our containment and control policies are very centrally managed. And when they are centrally managed, they're a bit of a monolith, very imprecise, unable to be dynamic and be flexible. So we've said for many times, and we heard Andy Burnham earlier, that really we need to hand over contact tracing immediately to the regions and to build up that resilience from a regional point of view, and then also enable testing to be expanded in NHS and university and other local laboratories, rather than have these large, slightly unresponsive White House labs.
And another circuit breaker?
Well, the circuit breaker should be seen as a failure, because we've said this, that the circuit breaker only achieves one thing. It is a temporary elastoplast. So I am saying, listen, if you want to go into a circuit breaker, what is your exit strategy? And your exit strategy should be that when we come out of this circuit breaker, you will have inculcated amongst all the people that you are now going to take very, very strict infection control measures. If everyone took strict infection control measures, we can do a lot of good nationally. A little drop achieves a lot. Second thing is sort out the contact tracing, hand it over to the regions to do, and then start enabling local laboratories to also test. So that would be your exit strategy if you are going to go into a lockdown, and admit that really a lockdown is a failure.
We saw reports yesterday that antibodies wane rapidly after infection. Can you talk to me about T cells, though, and what role they have?
So we have two arms of our immune system. One is the antibodies arm, and the other arm is the T cells, the cellular side of the immune system. Now, for the benefit of all our viewers, what I want to say is, just because you cannot measure antibody levels doesn't mean the immunity is not there. We need to make that distinction, that absence of antibodies does not mean absence of immunity. This is a very important concept to understand. Therefore, to extrapolate, just because I don't see antibodies after 3 to 6 months in you post-infection does not then translate to, therefore, you're not immune. And that's a very important concept for people to understand.
Well, that's good news, isn't it?
Well, it is. What I'm saying is we don't know, but what we cannot extrapolate is that just because the antibodies are missing doesn't mean that you don't have immunity. So look, give you an example. We immunize people with hepatitis B, and sometimes we just cannot detect antibodies after immunizing them, but they are still immune. So similarly, using that same analogy, people may be immune, it's just that we don't know, and only time will tell us. And I personally think that there will be a degree of immunity even if you don't have detectable antibodies. What we don't know is how long that immunity lasts for. Is it 6 months? Is it 9 months? Is it a year? That we will know in time.
OK. Fascinating stuff. Thank you so much for joining us as usual. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.